Do you think Swift Sneak is better as a boot enchant as it is now, or do you think it should be a Leggings enchantment instead? And fortunately, this doesn't have to be a hypothetical question because King B Dogs, developer of the Deep Dark, said on Friday that it sounds like people want Swift Sneak to be a Leggings enchantment and then okay, and then the cool face emoji. And it's worth saying this isn't necessarily a 100% confirmation that they'll change that in the next snapshot or whenever. It could be a funny joke that maybe you're missing. However, I think it's very likely they will make it a Leggings enchantment because when you think about the mechanics of actually sneaking, it is inside of the legs, or at least in the knees, right? That is what makes you crouch down. Even if we just ignore real world logic, because let's be honest, this is Minecraft and that is something they do all the time, I think that just on a balance level, we already have quite a few helmet enchantments, we also have quite a few boot enchantments, and would it make sense to have a Leggings exclusive enchantment? I think it certainly would, and it looks like at least one Minecraft developer agreed. With that said, hello, I'm MBXToyCat, welcome to QnA Saturday, and the second question comes in from Tommy, who says, how do you feel about current Warden AI/mechanics? A lot of people think of the Warden as a new boss mob and are disappointed by how easy it is to beat, but I feel it's more like the Piglin Brute, very easy to cheese if you're careful, but can corner you and instant yeet you. So first things first, the Warden will be changing between now and release. However, even in its current form, where there are quite a few easy ways to cheese it, and let's be honest, that was something the Minecraft community was always going to do, I think that it is still a very scary mob. I think it is perhaps the scariest mob in the game, even though you can do quite a few things to get away from him, and I think that a lot of people forget that even though when you're just talking in a purely academic video sense that like, oh, it's really easy to avoid him by just doing XYZ easy thing, when you're actually in the game in reality, it can be much scarier to do those things, especially with the darkness effect that you get when the Warden is chasing you, which is just terrifying. I mean, the psychological impact of being chased around a ancient city by a Warden while the darkness effect is on, it's just very, very intense, and so as a result, I think that, yeah, it's always going to be easy to take down with a specific set of steps. However, for a new player, or even someone who knows but is maybe just, less experienced in the flesh, it's still going to be very terrifying, and the fact that it doesn't drop anything is probably the biggest reason why it doesn't ultimately matter that people have Warden farms and whatnot. Speaking of Warden farms, Marcus Gonzalez says, what if when you activate the portal, instead of going to a different dimension, mobs or maybe an infectious block comes through to you? I like this theory a lot. I've heard a few different variations of it, like having a deep dark raid where, lots of Warden style mobs come out of it, and maybe there's some reward for beating that. Again, no individual reward for beating them, but some collective reward. I think that's possible, and I think it's a really fun idea, and it's now one of my favorites because traveling around, sure, that's valuable. A new dimension, sure, that's great, but a little ambitious. Wouldn't something like a raid make more sense? Maybe it would, and what I love is the theories that are coming from this. However, I do need to clarify, whenever we talk about theories about what the Deep Dark portal, the Ancient City portal might do, we do need to mention things like Orvius does right here, that he thinks it's a misconception and it doesn't really look like one to me, just a part of the structure's design. And I've seen a few people say that, yeah, actually, it just looks like the Warden's face, which I don't perfectly see, but I see where they're coming from, that no, this is actually just a purely aesthetic thing. And I think it's important to keep in mind that there are lots of things that seem like they should do a thing in Minecraft, but don't really go anywhere. I'm looking at you, Desert Wells. And so yeah, I think that obviously there's a ton of different misleading parts of Minecraft where either they didn't finish it or they just didn't know that it was leading people somewhere, and so maybe that's what the Ancient City portal is all about. However, I do have two counterpoints, because usually I'd be skeptical and say we don't know it's a portal, and it's in reality I would say it's very unlikely to be a portal if it weren't for the fact that, one, we already know that the Deep Dark is going to have some great reward to bring you down there, and even with the new enchantment for the Leggings, which by the way I think is fun, and I think just putting on Leggings alone already makes it more exciting, but it's still not enough reason to go down there, because how often are you really sneaking, especially on Bedrock? Not very often. And given that the Warden doesn't have his own drop, he doesn't drop experience, and he doesn't drop items, that is intended game design, given that that is true, I feel as though the portal is going to be the missing link. It's also possible there's some magic rare item down there that you get from the chests, and that's going to be it entirely, but I think it's going to come from the portal, and the reason I'm still calling it a portal rather than the Warden's mouth is because inside the game files, the Ancient City Center structure has within it something called a small underscore portal underscore statue. And yeah, as a result, I just feel like it has to lead somewhere. But again, I think it's important. I know it's a less sexy thing to mention in videos that like, ooh, this is just speculation. But obviously, we're waiting for future snapshots. We're waiting for them to develop this, for us to find out where that's really going. And that is an exciting thing to hear about in future snapshots and and Bedrock betas. Speaking of speculation, I wanted to come back to something that's been suggested a few times, but the water bottle says, does anyone else think this could be a stronghold replacement? I'm just saying that it's a much more terrifying threat, and the portal could lead to a final ending challenge to get to before you go in the end. And it has to be said that, man, the deep dark city, the ancient city, this whole thing would be much better placed as the stronghold if they were designing from scratch. The reason I think that they're not going to replace the stronghold with the ancient city is mostly because it's been 10, almost 11 years of Minecraft now, with the stronghold being the end of the game. It'd be weird to change that at the last minute, but I would love if, like, yeah, you have to kill Enderman in the real world, then you have to kill Blazers in the Nether. Those are two pretty hard mobs found in pretty scary places, but then once you want to go to the stronghold, you've got to get through all of these wardens, which make it an actually terrifying threat. I would love if they had something more scary than Silverfish as the final gateway between you and the end portal, but maybe I'm digressing. But one of the great ideas here is just like, what if it takes you to another part of the end, or what if it takes you to something before the end? And I think there is some progression they could play around with. I think it's unlikely they will, just because, again, altering certain things is going to always get people upset, because it's going to play around with the very definition of Minecraft, and it's important to find the balance of adding new things to the game that are exciting and new, but not messing with the things that people love and know, and that's a balance I have no idea how I would strike if I was doing it. Speaking of things I don't know how I'd strike, Ultra Gamer Fanfic Reading says, Toycat, respectfully, what the hell was that F? This is on my building the Minecraft 360 tutorial from scratch video, and you know what? I think you're right, F in chat for my big mistake, but let's go and let's fix that right now, actually. You know what, actually, now that I look at it, I don't see any issue with the F. I don't even think there is an F in this logo. But no, yeah, what they're talking about is this. The crazy thing is how I genuinely didn't spot the F until after the second edit of the video came back, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's a bit of a problem, huh? All we need is a couple blocks, and it'll be solved, though. Oh my god, what just happened? Have you ever heard something like that before? Whatever. Break these blocks here, place some blocks here, then remove the bottom row down here. I think what you'll find... Okay, let's just pretend no one can see that. And I think that now you'll notice the Minecraft logo is Oh, no, it's not. We've still got... You know, okay, I can fix this. Damn it. Okay, there we go. The Minecraft logo is fixed. Your OCD can rest. I think the M is still done incorrectly, like it goes way too close to the edge. Something feels slightly off about it still. What are the issues with my Minecraft logo, chat? Let me know. Also, your name is Chat when I'm recording in the Let's Play world. I'm sorry. I know that you're not a live stream chat right now, and you're a group of commenters, like this next person, by the way. So this next one comes in from Mo the Dealer. The Warden drops nothing. Wow, each year I think Mojang has reached the peak of stupidity, but then they keep surprising me. And here is the deal. I don't think that the Warden dropping nothing is a stupid decision. In fact, I think it's the smart way to stop people from making, at least in survival, the Warden farms and the, you know, over-the-top ways of killing the Warden to get his rewards, because then you kind of remove some of the magic. I mean, in the same way that so many people have said, yeah, defeating the Ender Dragon looks so easy until you do it yourself. If you watch YouTube videos of people, you know, doing the weirdest techniques to defeat the dragon, she seems like the easiest thing in the game until you're there in the flesh and you're getting whacked around and die falling damage 6 times in a row, because seeing something and doing something are very different. But also, it just means that even if you're the best player in the game, it's always going to be more convenient not to summon the Warden and to avoid him, which helps with the whole survival horror aspect. Again, I think they need to add some form of boss, some form of magic for that portal, some form of loot, something to this area to really make it worthwhile in the long run, because right now people are so excited about the ancient cities, but that is because they are new. In a few updates, they will fade to nothing unless we see that new thing, but again, they've clarified many times before, there will be something unique enough to be worth bearing the Warden, and I don't think it's going to be the Swift Sneaking Enchantment unless they massively buff it, and that's something we're going to have to wait and see about. Maybe just the sculpt blocks alone are going to be the magic experience. I don't know for sure, but it'll be fun to raid these places to get these very interesting blocks, like for things like wireless redstone. Speaking of wireless redstone, Nubs, your boy, definitely has a question that is related to that, because they say, I have the old Wii U edition, is that rare? Responding, of course, to my video on the secret version of Minecraft Nintendo Switch, and I say secret, it's really discontinued, you can't get it anymore, and the only way to get it was if you owned Minecraft on the Switch before 2019, and so as a result of being discontinued, it's very rare. You cannot buy it today without buying someone's Switch that already has the the game preloaded onto it, or buying someone's Nintendo account maybe. I don't know how this whole system there works. And so the question is, if the Switch edition is rare, is the Wii U edition rare too? And interestingly enough, no. The exact same version of Minecraft that runs on the Switch also runs, the secret one I should say, also runs on the Wii U, and that was never like discontinued. And so if you want, even now, according to the Minecraft.net website, you can still buy a brand new copy of this, which is very weird and surreal to me. And so if there is new supply of something, it by definition can't really be rare. However, there are a ton of Minecraft products that are. Minecraft Xbox One as a disc edition, rare version of the game. Minecraft Story Mode on any platform ever, they literally don't have the legal rights to sell that digitally anymore. If you own a digital copy, I think it doesn't work correctly anymore. But if you have a disc copy of that, then you have something that very few people do, because again, they can't print you copies of that. They don't legally have the rights to. However, I want to discuss something interesting here, which is even though they can't legally print Minecraft Story Mode, if you want to buy a copy of that on disc, it is still cheaper than buying something they can legally print more of, because ultimately what it comes down to a lot of cases is not whether they can make new copies if they need to, although that is kind of important, it's whether they are printing new copies. So take a game like Super Smash Bros. Melee for the GameCube. It was pretty liked in its time, but it's had a huge market since then. There is only a fixed number of copies of that game in existence, and so even though it sold for, I think, $60 when it came out, it is right now worth $63.76 according to this website for the complete game with the disc and the manual and everything. And this is incredibly interesting to me that, like, yeah, any game, if there is a limited supply and more people start playing it, is going to go up in price slowly. But I find it even more interesting that you can buy a brand new copy, you know, in the plastic film and everything, for $640. That seems excessive, but it's just this weird proof that, like, collecting video games is a weird hobby. You can't really expect to make money on it. It's ultimately about having these weird things that don't exist in the world. But the very principles of value about supply and demand prove true. Minecraft on the Switch, Minecraft Xbox One Edition, and Minecraft Story Mode have a fixed supply, but most people don't know that they're discontinued, so not that high for demand, whereas Super Smash Bros. Melee has a high supply out there. It's just that over time the demand has grown even greater, and you know, it's incredibly interesting to look at video game markets. But this video is meant to be about the Warden, or the something like that. So the Paragon YT asks, why won't it come on Bedrock? And assuming we interpret this question the polite way rather than the less than appropriate way, then obviously, why will there not be a Warden on Bedrock? There will be a Warden on Bedrock. It is just not right now, but we've seen time and time again over the course of the Warden's development that they wanted to make sure it was working on Bedrock, and they did all of their testing on Java and Bedrock side by side. In fact, because of that, I imagine that we're going to be seeing the Warden come to Bedrock in the next couple of weeks for a Bedrock beta, or Bedrock preview as they now are being called, and so that is going to be incredibly exciting to see, because there are going to be differences. There just factually has to be, and I really want to see if the Bedrock Warden, just like all of the other mobs, is significantly harder than the Java Warden. But that's something we'll have to find out when 1.19 releases, and when is that, by the way, asked Capricorps. And to answer your question with the best information we have available right now, 1.19 can release in one of two times. It's either going to launch halfway through the year, or it's going to launch towards the end of the year, depending on whether they go for a small/medium-sized update or a large one. We genuinely don't know their preference at this stage. All we know is there's going to be a swamp update, and there's going to be a birch forest update, and they're doing the thing with the deep dark finally, but we don't know if that is something that takes 6 months to develop or a year, and they really have been keeping tight-lipped about it. I imagine we'll get to about April or May, and maybe even in March, work out whether this is going to be a full year update, or whether it's going to be one they try to get out before the summer, but that is something we're going to have to wait and see about, just like the Warden on Bedrock, just like the Portal mystery, and it's a shame to be in this place, but it's also an important reason that you need to keep up with these things, and obviously I'm going to recommend that you subscribe to my channel. If you turn on those notifications, you'll see all the news as it comes out with my thoughts, opinions, analysis, etc. And if you want that, then subscribing is great, and if you don't want it, then the video's over. So thank you for watching, and I guess I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.